Live. Let us see. Hello, everyone. Jess here, bringing you your Jedi Mind Hack of the day. Waiting for YouTube. Looks like we are live. I have no idea if anyone's going to jump on here with me or not, but I'm here. I am being consistent. I am being disciplined. Hello, everybody. Here to give you your Jedi Mind Hack of the day. And hopefully this one is really going to benefit you because we're like moving into the holidays, at least in the US. I know you guys in Canada like do your Thanksgiving or whatever like in October, and UK is different. But we are going to have our Thanksgiving here coming up in the USA this week. And I thought that this would be a perfect wrap up of like aha moments and trigger warnings as you're moving into your holiday time. They always say that this is the happiest time of the year, but as a life coach for the last 15 years, I will tell you that this is that time of year when most of your childhood trauma resurfaces and your abundance issues get all fired up and you're having to do things that you don't want to do. The best part about it is if you do have a third dimensional job still, that you're probably going to get a little bit of time off. So there's some fun in that. But hopefully this will, hey, Monet, I see you. Hi, finally, I see you on YouTube. Who else is here? Hello, guys. Good to see you. All right, I won't take your time. I know it's dinner somewhere. Let me get into this. So there are 11 ways, and again, there's millions of ways, but I have broken down the 11 ways that humans keep themselves, including me, enslaved in the matrix unintentionally. Okay. When we think of like ourselves being enslaved, it's like we get real triggered about like the system and the laws and the rules and the money and like there's a whole bunch of like, what's the point? And it's not fair. Okay. That is what's going to be kind of coming through for your inner child. But there are 11 ways that we are enslaving ourselves unintentionally, that if we stopped and redirected our energy differently, we could jump into the parallel timeline that is your heaven on earth. So actually the system isn't the problem. It's us. We are the problem. And we are the solution. So one of the things that the Matrix does that I think is the biggest, it's the biggest hypnosis, is that we have been taught so many lies since the beginning of at least our incarnation that it's like hard to believe. Look, what do we not believe and what we would believe? So we have to go back to spiritual law. The spiritual law is the only thing that we need to take into accord when we are working on our own ability to create sovereign freedom here. We do not need to take into account of any man laws whatsoever, but we do need to take into consideration the spiritual laws. Because before there's a disease, there is a spiritual issue, okay? Before there's a conflict in a relationship, there is a soul pattern or a soul fragment or a soul contract. So there is always something that is preceding your physical manifestation, always. So when we blame it on the person, place, or thing, then we are not taking full responsibility as who we are as creators, even if we did not know how we were creating such things. Because yes, we might come into this reality and find ourselves in a box, which we all have our little golden cage and our golden handcuffs. If you guys have been watching along with me for this Jedi Mindsets, I've been preparing my class for the master class this year. We're going to be going deep into each one of these. So where do I get my information from? So I have never really been one to like read books, because I heard really early on, and I can't remember if it was like Wayne Dyer, like 100 years ago, said the answers are within. So I was like, well, then I better get my answers from within, because I had a big imagination growing up. And so I got called a liar a lot. And so I was like, I don't want to steal anyone else's stuff. I don't want to like be regurgitating other teachers' information. So I always have direct channeled. And I have always gone into trance channeling, and I have always like traveled lucidly and gotten my information from different galactic beings, Galactic Federation, light beings, ancestors, spirit guides. And who I've been working with this last like 6 or 7 months now has been like African shamans from the origin spaces of Aboriginals, and also kind of like the old school like sages and the ascended masters. That's who kind of like I'm comparing all these notes from all these different ascended teachers, and I'm like, okay, let's find the truth. Let's find the common denominator here, because we're all speaking different religions, languages. We all come from different backgrounds, but there is an essential truth behind every modality, every religious text. And through studying, in depth the Kabbalah with the sages and the Bible and the Quran and so many other different bodies of work, I have found within myself the conclusions of what was keeping me enslaved. And all I can do is share with you guys what I have overcome and I'm working on, and also taking, over the years, thousands of people through their own ascension process back into freedom. And so I do have a good idea of like an overall like idea of what might be blocking you. And it probably isn't what you think. So I bet you if you looked at your box right now, which is your golden cage, we all have one, and you looked around and I asked you, what do you think the problem is that is keeping you from creating your heaven on earth, having your heaven on earth, living your heaven on earth, getting your heaven on earth, whatever you want to call it, manifesting your heaven on earth? And your heaven on earth is going to look different than mine, yet we're all going to be able to play together, because Creator is quite genius when it put this whole puzzle together, and each one of us is a piece, and each one of us fits perfectly into the all, because we are technically all one being, fractal, having this amazing, unique experience. And so we are designed to all fit together. We were never designed to be separate, but we were designed to be unique. And so in that uniqueness, we have different aspects of ourselves that we came into this incarnation to unpack, work through, and fulfill destinies. So one of the first things that I want to like unpack before we get into these 11 concepts is that I get asked a lot of the questions as, what's the difference between destiny and free will? Because I keep saying we are free will beings in a free will universe. And you're like, okay, well, what about destiny? Because if we were going to look at our president who just got elected, there's a book that's written in the early 1800s called something Trump and the amazing journeys of Trump and the last American president, that was written in the 1800s. So what the hell, right? Is this scripted? Like, did we ever have a choice here? Or do we have a choice within the choice? Okay, so I'm going to answer that right now. So yes, it's both. There is a preordained destiny for each of us. There is a destiny for our collective. Now, where you get to be a free will creator in that is at any given moment, you can choose no thank you. And you can shift your frequency to an alternate reality, and then you can vibrate there until you collapse the wave and basically formulate that new timeline as far as living there, because it already exists. And the one thing that I do know that I have seen through many lucid travels is that Creator wishes you, and you're obviously like, the way I like to explain it to my class is like, you're a scuba diver and you jumped off the boat and you went into the abyss, right? And so like, your higher self is on the boat and you are underneath the water and you're breathing oxygen, but it's like all murky and you got masks on and you can't really see, and there's creatures coming at you, and sometimes it's hard to breathe and all kinds of stuff, but you're making it happen. But there's a party going on up there, right? And you came down here. And so as above is below. And so you're here kind of on a reconnaissance mission, collecting soul fragments, integrating all these different pieces of yourself, unpacking, a lot of the trauma that you came in with, because your origin script is basically your thick ass astrology report. This is your script. Okay. Now, if you're like, wow, I want to change it, you can. Okay. Now, maybe some astrologers will like to argue with me, but bring it on, because I love me some debate, because I can prove that you are a creator. Now, if you don't know how to change it, or you get stuck believing that you're stuck with it, well, then you are creators. So what you believe is going to ultimately be your reality. All right. But the difference between free will and destiny is that if you do not take your free will and change your frequency and shift, then you're going to play out the destiny. So it's kind of like if you walked into a movie, right, and you paid money for it, and you're watching the movie, and all of a sudden you decide you don't like it. You're not going to walk up to the screen and start trying to rearrange the characters and like yell at the director and send him a letter and all these things. You're just going to be like, I don't like this. You're going to get up and you're going to walk into the hall and you're going to take a breath and you're going to pause and you're going to be like, I'm going to choose a different movie. But it's a little bit more complicated than just getting up out of your chair and walking into a different movie when you have a house and a relationship and a job and a money situation and body health and all kinds of things. So it's a little bit more complicated in the physical reality, but the concept is actually just the same. So when you decide, this is not the way my story's going to go, you can't bitch about it. Because if you start bitching about it, it's basically like walking up to the movie screen and be like, I'm trying to change this. So what you have to do is you have to be like, no, thank you. And then you have to say, thank you for showing me that this is one destiny that I could totally live out. And if I decide to stay a victim, then I will by default have to play this out and live this out. And I will complain the whole time. But, it is what it is. So there is a direct way that you can shift into a free will path that creates another destiny. So imagine that you have, let's just say because there's millions, but let's just say for like consistency here, that you have 10 different destinies that you just set up for yourself, depending on how conscious you became here. And let's say that you had, by the time you woke up and did some spiritual work and healed some of your trauma, that you were on the 3rd floor of this 10th floor building. The 10th floor, the penthouse, is going to be the best possible destiny that you could create for yourself here. All right. At least with your own imagination, it's infinite. You can create millions, but just to stay in the story, we'll say there's 10. So you're on the 3rd story, okay? And you awaken enough to the universal laws and the principles, and you go, oh, this isn't big enough for me. This isn't exciting enough for me. This isn't playful enough for me. This isn't creative enough for me. This isn't fun enough for me. I want to go up higher, okay? Well, then everything on the 3rd floor has to collapse and fold in order for you to move up. And if you move up, you've got to expand your vessel. This is something that really I've only been able to find in the Kabbalah, which is the explaining of the receptive vessel and the container, which is you. And the more density you have, the lower floor you're going to be on, the more light you have, right? The more light you contain, then the higher density and the higher manifestations you can create. So let's say you're realizing that you create your reality, and when you wake up to all this, you're on the 3rd floor, but your heart's desires, the ones that are way too big for you to live right now with your capabilities, your intellect, your money in the bank, your casting characters, like there's no way that I could create this 10th floor reality in this 3rd floor movie. And so what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to work the universal properties, that's what we're going to be doing in our Jedi Masterclass this year. Is we're going to be working those principles to get to the 10th floor, because you're going to use the Force, Luke, because it's yours. You have infinite power to create here. But what we do is we get on this 3rd floor, and then we look around at all the people living on the 3rd floor, and then we're like, whoa, and then we start judging it and complaining about it, and like we're trying to heal it. We're trying to teach people on our 3rd floor like how to be on the 5th floor. We're like giving people advice because we think that we have to take all of these people and this place and our situation with us, and it don't work that way. No, the only thing that has to change on the 3rd floor for you to get into higher floor is you. And then all the characters that align with the new version of you will somehow be updated, okay? And they will shift consciousness, and they will be on the floor above you if that is what you choose. So let's say you're like, okay, you're coming, but you're not coming. Okay, well then, right, you would be up there with new people, new places and things, but you wouldn't have other certain people. So the more you get stuck on the 3rd floor, the less chance that you have of ever using your true free will. Because you might be thinking that you're using your free will, but if you are not getting to the 4th floor and the 5th floor and the 6th floor with the universal knowledge that you have, then you're stuck in enslaving yourself through these 11 points, okay? Because it really is that easy. You decide from an honest responsibility, okay, this is what I have created thus far with my soul contracts, my astrology, right? My spiritual baggage, my upbringing, my childhood. But I'm evolving and I want to live a more playful, more abundant, more joyful, more prosperity life. Okay, so what do I need to do? Right? Well, I'm going to tell you what to not do, because as soon as you know what to not to do, you're going to start doing it the right way. So the number one thing, well, it's not number one because there's no real order here. Let me see. I got the notes here. So excited to show you guys this. All right. Oh, okay. So the number one thing that you are probably doing, that I know I sure as hell was doing, was I was judging what is. Okay. Now, why is this like a big deal? So judgment is, it's much more detrimental than any of us have any idea. And I literally had to go behind the scenes in reality creation, in meditation, in a hypnotic state, and watch energetically what happens when someone judges, because I didn't even really understand. I think, oh, when I judge or when someone judges, it's like we don't mean it, because we might think, oh, that person is blah blah blah, but we don't really actually mean it. But what happens is our word is the word of God. So our voice radiates the frequency of the words you speak are the level you live. So if you're wondering why you're on the third dimension, it is because of the words you're speaking. And so let me give you an analogy of something I saw from the other side that was like, it shook me. I was like, I'm shook. This is what happened. There was a person walking down the street. I'm watching this from the other side of the veil. And they notice an overweight woman, like obese, on the other side of the street. How many times have we seen this? Okay. And immediately the guy that was walking down the street, his mind said, oh my God, look at that woman. She's so fat. All she has to do is go to the gym. And this is what he was thinking. Okay. Now, immediately, energetically, this is what happened. She received a download that was now more in alignment with her own guilt and shame and her own suffering. So basically, he cursed her into having that weight longer because he noticed it. This is how powerful we are as creators. When I notice something, I give energy to it. What's energy? It's life. What's life? It's manifestation. So when I'm noticing someone who is in lack or sick or overweight or poor or whatever, then what I do is I'm actually adding to their suffering. Now, you might think, oh, sucks for her, but no, here's the real kicker. In that moment that person judged, his metabolism slowed down. Please take note of this because I'm not making this up. His metabolism slowed down because now he's cursed with that which he judged. Okay? And so basically the next day, he felt very bloated and overweight. So this is how it works, guys. And it's so subtle and it's so gentle that you may never even notice that this is what's happening. But if you do not believe me, go ask any sage, go ask any mystic, go ask any high priestess, go ask any shaman, and they'll be like, that's exactly what you're doing. You are judging someone else and you are cursing yourself, even by noticing it and thinking it, even if you didn't really mean anything bad by it. So you are cursing the person, okay? And you are cursing yourself with the same issue. So let's say that I have a real problem judging someone who has a weight problem. And you know what? I had a weight problem my whole life. And so I always struggled with that. So this one kind of hit me kind of personally when I saw this. And then his metabolism starts slowing down. And then all of a sudden, he's not overeating, but he's finding himself really bloated and huffy and he's feeling like uncomfortable. And if he doesn't recognize this and change his ways, because this is how the creator set everything up, is that you are that which you are, which means you are that what you judge. And the only way that you're going to have compassion for someone is to experience it yourself. And so if you don't have compassion for someone who's struggling with their weight, well, then the creator will give you the problem so that you can have compassion by the default of your own suffering. Right. Now, let's look at this in the long game. Let's look at this on the long game. And we're not just talking about weight here. We're talking about finances. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about body image. We're talking about family. We're talking about structure. We're talking about our homes. We're talking about everything that we have here in the matrix that makes up our reality. Remember, the box is made out of time, relationships, health, and money. So we are in that box, and we are not getting out if we are not the vibration of the next level up, which means in that fourth level or the fourth floor, okay, you're going to be a better version of yourself, not worse. The reason why most relationships don't work, guys, is because most relationships are focused on you on a two-dimensional level. Think about it. Let's say you're on a dating app, God forbid, and you're looking at someone on a two-dimensional level. You don't see the third dimension. You don't see what's inside. You don't see what's underneath. You don't see their childhood trauma. You don't see their story. You don't see their spiritual baggage. And then 3 months into the relationship, you're like, well, I didn't know you were like this. Yeah, because you weren't looking at the third level. You were looking at the two-dimensional version of them on social media. Okay, so let's think about this. Is why most people can't get off this third floor into the higher levels where it becomes more ease and flow. Because like once you understand these concepts, it will be just as easy for you to get to the fourth floor as it is the 10th, because all the same rules are going to apply. All right, all of the same rules apply. So the number one thing that we are all doing, that we're all working on, hopefully, is that we are replacing judgment with curiosity. Okay, because it's very difficult to grow up in a world where you were taught to judge as your way for self-preservation and to understand something, and shift it into curiosity. So instead, okay, the guy could have been like noticing someone who looked obese or something, and he could have said, I'm curious, what's her story? Because then what he would have done is he would have gone right into compassion. I know that I had a weight problem my whole life because I had childhood trauma. All right. Like I was like hiding myself. I was waiting for my life to start. I was, waiting for Prince Charming. I was, eating my feelings. I was eating for joy. I mean, there was everything. And if someone would have noticed me and they would have just seen the outside container, they might have had a judgment. Oh, it's so easy to go to the gym, right? But there might be a million reasons why I'm eating way less than you and working out 10 times more than you, and I can't get fit because it's a spiritual issue. It's an emotional dis-ease. Okay. And so if you go right into curiosity, then what you're going to do is you're going to then go, wow, I wonder what she's going through or went through to bring that on. And then that's going to open your heart, and that is going to get you to the next level, because compassion is unity. It's when you can walk in someone else's shoes. So the system in the matrix is really dead set on keeping you separate and singled out from everyone else, which means that it's hard to relate to other people. But everybody has a story. Everybody has a backstory, and nobody knows what it's like to walk in someone else's shoes unless you've walked in it. And so the creator says, well, you're obviously judging them, so you don't know what it's like to walk in their shoes. So here's their shoes for 6 months while you deal with a GI issue that blows out your belly guy and slows your metabolism down. Okay, so you will take on the condition that you judge. Yeah. Big whammy. And I'm probably not going to get through all 11 of these because I've already been talking for 24 minutes. So I'll probably get through 5 and finish this tomorrow because I'm not trying to keep you guys all away from your dinner. All right. Number 2, worry. In the third dimension, right, or in our matrix systems, worry is perceived as a loving way to express concern for the people you love. All right, let me tell you exactly what worry does. It does exactly what the judgment does. So when you worry for someone, you are noticing with your observer creator energy that someone is either hurt, ill, or could be hurt. That's usually what you do to worry. And you think that's coming from heart desire. But what you're actually doing is you're sending assumptions and scenarios to the person that you're worried about that now will infect them greater, make them more ill, make the situation worse. And because you sent negative, cursed energy to that person you were worried about, you now put that potential illness into your vibration as a possibility. So if you go talk to any shaman that's worth their weight in gold, they will tell you that if there is someone sick in the hospital, you're not allowed to go visit them unless you can see them in perfect health. Because if you can't see them in perfect health, then you can't go see them because you will make them worse by noticing that they are ill. And you're going, well, how do I not notice that they're ill if they're ill? But you have to understand that you're in an illusion. You're in an illusion where you have a lot of energy and power to create with. And so if you notice someone who is ill and you say, I'm going to decide to see you in perfect health. And this is the story of Christ's journey. As he would go see people, he would always see people in perfect health and they would heal. He didn't walk up and notice that people were ill. He noticed that people were well. And so that was a concept, is if you notice that someone is ill, then you add illness to them. You are saying, yep, I agree. And there is a story in the Bible that says when two and more agree, then Jesus Christ is present and it will manifest. So if two people agree that you're sick, well, now you're getting worse. Okay? Now, I don't want you guys to go into shame and guilt if you've been doing this, or if you lost a parent and feel responsible now. No, you're not. But this is something that we want to stop doing immediately, because this is enslaving you on the floor that you're wondering why you can't get off of. It could be these basic things that are keeping you from your upgrade. These are the things that are blocking your blessings. Okay? So if you're worried about someone, then you add whatever you were worried about energetically, the words, the thoughts, the feelings, you add that energetically to their field. You put that in their field. You curse them. Okay? The same thing goes for jealousy. Let's say your sister's pregnant, right? And then you're like, I'm so happy for you and I love you so much. But now I'm realizing that I don't have a kid, or that I don't have what she has. And so although I love her, now I'm jealous. Well, you're cursing her, because jealousy or envy is one of the 7 deadly sins. And what it does is it actually creates negative energy that could go into her pregnancy. And this is why the law is you don't tell anyone until you're 90 days, because by that it will take seed and it will begin to bloom. And it's harder for someone to cast negative energy on your manifestation. This is also why in my manifestation classes, we never share our true desires that we're working on until they begin to bloom. Because anyone, right, can energetically add, because this is quantum entanglement, guys. This isn't woo-woo. This is like physics of quantum entanglement, that if I notice something, then my energy is now included. Okay. And so if someone starts hating on you, that energy is now added to you. Okay. Now there's a way for you to block that curse. Let's say you're the one that's pregnant and you're wondering, like, I'm sharing all this and why is everyone not happy? Why are people hating on me? Why are people jealous? Because here's the thing. The humans are by default, they're usually focused on lack. So when you do well, what someone else is going to notice is what they're not doing well. Okay. And it's not that they don't love and care for you, but immediately when you show a success or you show something positive, it's going to reflect back on someone else as something that they're not doing. And now they're going to feel in lack with you sharing your abundance. Okay. This is another trap, because it's like, oh, I'm really happy for you, but now I'm just realizing I I haven't done anything with my life. I haven't, wow, you just wrote a book. I'm like, what have I done? And now I'm hating on myself, but I'm also putting negative energy into your story. And now I'm decreasing the stock of your abundance that you just created. And this is why, like, when you get excited to share something on social media and all of a sudden you're like, what, where's all this hate coming from? Because you're triggering people's awareness of their own lack, and hurt people want to hurt people. It's like, well, I'm suffering, you're going to suffer. And energetically, this is creating a lot of karma for that person who is hating on you. And you can actually deflect this hate by, setting an intention that you bless all people that you share this with, because this kind of blocks you, but it will add energetically to your basket of abundance. And so you're like, here, look at what I created. And you're like, why are none of my friends and family clapping for me? And it's not that they're not in love with what you're doing. It's just they're noticing their own lack. And when you notice your own lack, your vibration drops, but you also put that which you're jealous of negatively into the person that is sharing, and they're going to feel that, you know, like there's a story of like this amazing singer, and a guy was sitting next to her, and there was a singer on stage, and there was two people sitting down, and she was just singing this like amazing opera. And this guy was like, wow, I wish I had a voice like that, gosh. And it was like coming from jealousy, and immediately her voice cracked, so it immediately affects her. Now, if she's really sovereign in her power, that's not going to affect her, like maybe a glitch here and there. It's not going to really impact her. But if she lets her vibration drop, then she could develop some sort of throat cancer or something like that out of all the hate. Because the better you are at something, the more you're going to push buttons of people who are not good at what they're supposed to be good at, because it's like the creator and you put all these desires that were way too big for you to fulfill into your heart. And that was going to be your fuel to awaken. That was going to be your fuel to like blow through these limiting belief systems, to change your astrology. You were going to want these things so badly. But what happens as soon as you get in the matrix, it's like, well, I don't know how to do that. I'm never going to have that. And I can't do that. And so you forget that all you have to do is jump floors where the version of you does know how to do that. Because it's like, what if you're thinking the dreams of my heart right now, like, I don't have the education, or I don't have the talent, or I don't have the money, or I don't have the help. And so you're on that floor with all those belief systems thinking, well, how am I ever going to get to the 10th floor and do these things when I can't even do that? But see, this is what you don't realize, is that every avatar is going to have the talent. So you could literally wake up one day with the best voice in the world if you play your cards right and actually apply the universal laws. This is why it's so important right now that the matrix is collapsing, that you take your power back and you start building your own new avatar out of the dreams and desires in your heart, not in someone else's. Maybe you don't want a pregnancy like your sister, but her announcing something amazing kind of reminded you that you're not really doing much with your life, and that's going to trigger you, but it could inspire you. So instead, like I said, with the curiosity, like instead of being envious or in comparison, where you want to do is you want to say, okay, I bless what you can do, and I'm in awe of it, and I'm going to actually just be inspired by you, and I'm going to awaken the desires in my heart and get off my ass. And that's all it is. It's a wake-up call, because these soul contracts that we have within our game, not all of them are designed to help you. Some of them are designed to trigger the hell out of you, and so you literally begin to activate your own path. Okay, so it's like, that's what it's going to do. It's going to inspire you, but it's also going to irritate you, and that's going to help you really like get curious about, well, why am I unhappy that this person is success? Oh, I know, it's because that I haven't been doing what I should be doing, or what I could be doing is a better word. Okay, so when you're in envy or comparison, you are cursing, and you are also receiving the curse, which means you're going to block your blessings. All right. So let's go into another concept that I see a lot in my work, is people looking for their soulmate. Okay. So let's say I'm looking for my soulmate, or I'm wondering if the person that I'm with is my soulmate, right? You're like not sure. And And what do I do? Can I change them? Can I get someone new? Whatever. This is all you have to understand, is that you don't have to change them. You change yourself. Okay. And when you change yourself, you are the avatar. You are the main character. Okay. You are the main character of your movie, and your script and your people, places, and things. Remember, you're the 3D printer. Everything's going to be printed outside of you. So if you change, then your cast of characters will either get an upgrade or you will get new people. Okay. That's why one of the rules of 5D is you can't be attached to anything, because it will stop you from taking the upgrade if you're holding on. Okay. If you're holding on to people, places, and things that you think won't change, that are actually limiting you. All right. They are not limiting you. You are believing that they are limiting you with their behavior or with their lack of awareness, but it is actually you who has to change. And then everything ripples out of you because you are the center of your universe. So you create everything from within. So if I notice something bad, then I'm actually increasing the density of that story, but I'm also taking on the curse. Which means that if I'm jealous of someone who can do something better than me, and I'm sending that energy to them, that I'm also cursing myself with less chance of me being able to be good at that. You guys see that this is why we're trapped, not the money system, okay? Not the government. This is why we're trapped. It's our own shiz. It has nothing to do with the system, because once you get these things in alignment, you create a world where the system is completely different for you. And there are millions of people living in your collective that are living like the way I'm describing, and they're having a whole different experience of reality than what you believe is possible, because they're not judging, or they're not envious, or they're not waiting. Okay. So if you, let's say you're wanting to manifest your soulmate, and you're like noticing, like, again, noticing, where is he or where is she? Like, there's like no good people out there in the world. Like, everybody that I date is blah, blah, blah. You're speaking this into the universe, and the universe is saying, yep, you're right. On your floor, this is how all these people are. That means when you go on your dating app, your algorithm is only going to show you those type of people, because that's what you have spoken, you believe, you have observed, and you've proven by choosing them. And so it's assumption. The law of assumption, it keeps you stuck because you have said there's no good men out there, or there's no good girls out there. And so your words are keeping you on that floor where you cannot manifest your person. Now, when you do that, that person could have been a week away from you, okay, because you had been doing your spiritual work and you were starting to love on yourself and radiating self-compassion, and that gets you closer to everything you want. But then all of a sudden you get frustrated one day and you throw a tantrum and you're like, there's nobody out here, and you call your ex and all these things. And now the person that was going to be on your 4th or 5th floor waiting for you is now pushed back 3 months, because you have just fallen out of alignment with you. Okay. This is why, if you've studied the self-concept work, you must persist in the reality that is preferred, no matter what evidence is showing up around you. And this takes some skill, discipline. This means you must disciple the dreams in your heart. You were like, okay, if I put these dreams in my heart, then they have to manifest if I'm in alignment. Even if I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know when, I don't know who, you don't need to know any of that. That's all the creator's job. All you do is focus on the what and the why. What and the why. That's your job. That's your lane. That's your paper. You don't cheat. You don't look on the other paper. Well, when is he coming? You can't know that, because it's not about a physical person coming into your life. It is about you moving into a higher level of your avatar, which is the upgrade of your avatar. And in that version of you, that rendezvous happens, which means that it's not like you're waiting for the perfect person. But if you settle If you settle, which is the next one, settling for what you believe, circumstantial evidence of what you believe you can have. If you have not made room for miracles, if you do not believe in miracles, if you do not believe that, and there's 8 billion people in the world, that, this one loser is the only one you're ever going to have, then your settling is you telling the creator that you're settled. Think about it. It's like you want to be on the 10th floor, but you're settling for this. And now you said, well, we're not supposed to change them. We're supposed to change ourselves. Exactly. So what I recommend is you don't change anything in physical reality. You change how you are perceiving it. You change your judgment to curiosity. Okay. You use all forms of, outdated envy as inspiration. Okay. Now you're working in a state of prosperity and you're getting motivated. And instead of getting envious and why not me, you're saying, oh yeah, that is reminding me of my why. That's getting me all excited about everything. Okay. So we got judgment, we got curses, we got spell casting, we got settling, we got discussions of like soulmates and people changing and places changing. New talents. See, there might be a version of you on the 6th floor that has a voice like Christina Aguilera or like Mariah Carey, if that's what you want. Or you have this amazing business sense on the 8th floor that you don't have on the 3rd floor. So you do not need to worry about going into physical reality and getting a talent. Going into physical reality and getting money. Going into physical reality and changing your people around to get you to the 4th level. That's what humans do, and this is why you don't get anywhere, because it's all a spiritual experience, which means you change it on the soul spirit level. You do not change it on the physical level. Remember, you cannot change the movie. You have to walk out of the movie, go into the hall, and pause and be like, this is not my highest joy. Okay, I'm going to follow my highest joy, which means I'm going to use every trigger as an inspiration. Every button that gets pushed, I'm going to say thank you, because this fires up my desire of what I actually deserve. And if you truly study the universal properties, you don't have to guess about like what you should do. It's all right there. Okay, it's all right there. Every universal law, right? When you are triggered, you say thank you, because in the darkness, in the trigger, in the gut check, in the rejection, in the abandonment, in the heartbreak, in the bankruptcy, that's when you can get up and walk out of the movie. Think about a movie you've ever gotten up and walked out of. You didn't do that unless it was really bad, right? Most of it, you'd be like, well, the popcorn is decent. I'll just sit here, or I'll take a nap. But if you've ever gotten up and walked out of a movie, it was because it was just something you did not want to spend 2 hours sitting through, and you got up and walked out. That's what you have to do with your reality. You have to say vibrationally, this is not my story anymore. This is my old story. Because the day you end your karma, you end your spiritual baggage, is the day that you stop suffering in it. Okay. Now, there's some other things that really get us stuck, but I don't want us to take your whole night away. But I'll let you ponder it, and we'll start back up tomorrow. And it's feeling guilt and shame for your past and the idea of loss. So one of the biggest ways that we stay trapped and on the floor that you're on right now is what you're attached to. Now think about this. I'm just going to let you gnaw and chew on this tonight. Think about how many things right now that you are still super attached to that you have already lost. Okay. Now, things you've already lost, they're already gone. People, places, and things. Notice what part of you has not let them go. Doesn't that sound crazy? Like, I lost them, but I can't let go of the loss. That anchors you into density, because attachment It creates weight. It creates density. It creates an anchor. And grief, right? Grief is the lowest vibration that a human can be in because it's right before death. So if you're still grieving, or you still just have not like come to terms or let go of something that you have already lost, then what you do is you create a huge fear around losing more of it or losing it again. And this will keep people out of relationships. Like I've heard people say, "Oh no, I think I'm good this lifetime. I'm just going to stay single. Like that last one was so brutal. Like I will never love again." What you're saying to the creator is, out of 8 billion people, okay, the loss that I had with my soul baggage, my soul contract, my karmic relationship was so bad that I'm never going to give my new spirit, my higher self, an opportunity to even see what she could create up here. And this holds you like hostage. So that's one of our Mr. Smith effects, is you being held hostage by your past. Okay. And you hold yourself hostage because you think, well, you know what, like I lost my father and I was worried about him and I was, saying things, and is it my fault? And the guilt of losing him, then you can't let go of losing him. And I've seen this a lot this last year, because these last few years, guys, especially up to like 2012, we be losing people, because the game has changed. The game has changed. So a lot of people are like, I'm going to play on the other side of the veil. I'm going to help you, but I'm going to help you over here, right? I'm done playing the human game, so I'm going to play the spirit guide game. And so many of us have lost many people because grief is one of the things that wakes us up. If you guys listen to another Jedi Mindset, I said if you really want to go into enlightenment, you create a faux death experience. Okay, like near-death experiences are the fastest ways to awaken parts of you, because if you get out and walk out of your own movie and you go into the hall, that's a near-death experience, because that version of you has to die in order for the new version to take the role. So it's almost like you're creating your own walk-in sequence, which is like, I'm ready for the updated version of me. I'm taking the upgrade on the smartphone. But that means that the judgments, the curses, the words that I use, the mindsets that I have, the assumptions that I feel, the scenarios that I think, the things that I have settled for, it all has to die. And that is very difficult for the ego, who is your personal assistant to your script. That's your ego. It says, well, I'm here to manage this script. So you're not going off the script, so it will fight you a little bit. Okay. But that's when you get really still and you use your universal tools. And I've been sharing those more and more. And as I get through this 11, I will give you the cheat codes, but it's not something that you can do in a 24-hour day if it's something that you've been practicing for 49 years. Okay. Some of these patterns have taken me months to break, because I've been doing them automatically, unintentionally, and unconsciously for 49 years. So it's not as easy as just turning it off. But if you allow your desire, your why, to really get fired up, then that is what you use as your carrot, your motivation to keep you striving, like shutting your judgment down. Because it's like, okay, if I have nothing to look forward to, who cares if I judge and get sick and die? Big deal. But if you have something to live for, if your inner child is like wound up on your potential and you're like, I know I can have this, right? Then it's going to stop your voice from speaking these negative things into reality. And you're going to start looking at judgment differently. You're going to stop cursing people. You're not going to worry. So what is the opposite of worry? Faith. Okay. So you see someone in the hospital and you say, you know what? The creator is amazing with miracles. And this is probably just a test. This is a wake-up call for you. This is an opportunity for me to choose light and choose prosperity and love. So I'm going to see you in perfect health. And I'm going to tell you, I see that you look amazing. And even though your ego's like, they don't look amazing, you're going to speak that they look amazing. And whatever happens with that soul, whether they get better or worse, it didn't have anything to do with you, and you go to the next level. And this is how enlightenment works, because we become more loving, more aware, more unified, and more like our creator. So let's say that the 10th floor is almost like getting into the kingdom of heaven now. Well, you're not going to live in the kingdom of heaven if you don't act like your creator. So how does your creator act? Your creator acts in always a state of abundance, always a state of love, and always a state of prosperity, which means that if I see something that someone else has that I adore and love, then I'm going to get excited for them and me. Win-win. I'm not going to judge them for having it and then be jealous of them and then hate on myself that I don't have it. That's playing for the other league. That's playing for the satanic league. And that's going to put me on the second floor, which means that I'm just nothing but surface. I'm very shallow. Okay. So there was one more thing that I was going to say, and it went back around, but it's lost, but it will come back tomorrow. All right. So that is about as far as we got. I think that was 4 or 5, but we have lots more to go. So there's 11 of these in total. There's lots more. But these are the ones that if you guys just make different choices, you'll start to really collapse your old timelines. You'll start to see people change. You'll start to see things change. You'll start to see abundance show up where there was no abundance. You'll start to see opportunities, because it's not like everything's going to be different one day you wake up. It's going to be subtle changes where you are feeling very like logical next step. Like, yeah, of course that's different because I'm different. And when you are looking at your reality from a place of prosperity and you're looking at everything in abundance, then you're looking at the world through the eyes of creator, and creator will then match you with more prosperity and abundance. Lack attracts lack, right? So if I see you lacking, I add to your lack and I also take on your lack. If I see you suffering and I notice it, then I'm adding to your suffering and I'm also taking it on, because that's what lack does. If I notice you're suffering and I say, you know what, I decide to see you in perfect health, then I add wellness to your suffering and I also add wellness to myself. So I bless you and I receive the backdoor blessing. Okay, so this is how it works to speed things up, biohack, collapse the wave, jump timelines, quantum leap, and use the force to navigate your reality without changing a person, place, or thing. It is just looking at your reality through the eyes of your creator, the creator that creates all, okay, and thinking to yourself, let me check in with my desire, because your desire is what is going to get you to the 10th floor. So if you're noticing that you don't have a lot of desire, all right, it's probably because there's too much judgment. If you don't have a lot of desire, there's probably too many times you've settled. If you don't have a lot of desire, there's probably too many curses on you, because you came here to desire and then create energy out of it. So if I desire, I'm going to notice something that I would like to experience or share or be or do or have. I'm going to get excited about that. That's going to generate energy. And then through the 3-point trinity, which is your positive, your negative, and your neutral, I'm going to manifest it. Okay. So the number one thing that is actually in your way is your desire isn't big enough for you to stop doing these things. Because if your desire was big enough, you would be like a kid on Christmas morning knowing that, like, I've been good all year, right? So it's like even that story of Santa, it's like, I've been good, I'm going to get the benefit of it, right? So it's the same thing with us. It's not about us being good. It's about us living well and living in a state of there is only health and abundance. We are immortal beings. Yes, we have a vessel that is mortal, but that can also change too, depending on our belief systems. Because if I believe that I am immortal, and I believe with all the light in who I am, and I'm sending love and light and energy to those people, then I will not experience curses. I won't experience lack, and I will have to change into a timeline where that particular age doesn't, my age doesn't exist anymore. And the beings that I channel, the sages, the aboriginals, the origin beings, the African shamans, some of them are like 900 years old and they're younger than me. So you have to understand that even on your planet, there are people who are living completely different realities than what you believe in your environment. Okay, and that's where we're going to start off tomorrow. Is I'm going to explain to you how your epigenetics are going to keep you on that third floor, or epigenetics is going to get you to the 10th floor, because how you view your own environment is either going to get you to quantum leap or to shrink. It's your choice. So it really has nothing to do with the system or the matrix at this point. It all comes down to the way we were taught to enslave ourselves, entrap ourselves, curse ourselves, right? And keep ourselves into these golden cages and truly believe that there's an outside force that's doing this to us. All right. So if you're curious, join me tomorrow. I have no idea what time that will be yet, but I will let you guys know sooner than later. And for those of you who are in my masterclass, we will be live on Wednesday. I do have a couple new classes for your Jedi that I'll be updating in online. If anybody's interested in joining us, you guys can go to my app, which I will put in the information in the bio. You can get signed up for that. It's a year-long process of basically you getting to the 10th floor, because that's what you deserve as a creator. All right, guys, enjoy your evening, and I'll see you tomorrow.